Going to get started here in just a couple of minutes. Let me know if you could hear me. I apologize for this thing being, 48 hours late, but I'll explain why in just a few minutes. I apologize for this thing being, 48 hours late, but I'll explain why in just a few minutes. I apologize for this thing being, 48 hours late, but I'll explain why in just a few minutes. I apologize for this thing being, 48 hours late, but I'll explain why in just a few minutes. Let me know in the chat if you could hear me. All right. We'll be getting going here in just a couple of minutes. I wanted to explain to everybody first why this is 48 hours later than it should be before we get the show started. How you doing, everybody? I'm Ken Bykoff, and welcome to the Peegs Postgame Live. Postgame meaning about 48 hours later than I really would have liked. So the reason this is happening so far in the future, or in the future after the game, when this is normally live right after the game, a post-game call-in show should be. Back in the spring, we have two things happen. We have a schedule for a family friend getting married. We have my mother-in-law's 70th birthday. I know Indiana's going to be on the road at Oregon, so I decided, okay, we'll go ahead. We'll do the show on Sunday morning instead because family is really important. And so I went ahead and scheduled that up. It's in Northwest Indiana, where I grew up. Hence, Bears are playing tonight, so I got the Bears jersey on. So we end up going up there. Sunday morning comes, and I have awful connection issues at multiple spots, and my Starlink that I bring for to work in the parking lot of games, I didn't bring that with me because I didn't think I would need it. So it led to us already having to postpone this until today. For the people that are here, thank you for joining me here on Monday. And please, 812-393-2600 is the number. I want to hear from you about your thoughts on this win, about the fact that Indiana is now the number 3 team in the country, which is pretty jaw-dropping considering where this program was a couple of years ago. We're supposed to be hearing from Matt Weaver in just a little bit. So really looking forward to talking to you guys and hearing from you guys. But first off, I did the podcast last I guess it went up on Thursday. And on the podcast, I said that, look, I'm an IU alum. I've never been quiet about that. And, as an alum, I'm still having a tough time wrapping my head around the fact that this is where we are. And so while all the facts said Indiana was absolutely going to be able to compete and have an opportunity to win, wrapping my head around that was really difficult. Really difficult, especially because there's been a lot of times that Indiana has let you down. Those days are over. Absolutely over. Jared Kelly on Peegs.com had a fantastic article about the multiple times that Indiana could have fallen apart in this game. Whether it be the false starts, which Oregon should have been flagged at some point for the movement. It isn't just the shift. It was the waving of the arms that bothered me about it. And it's something that SIG talked to him about, and the officials didn't do anything about. And to me, that is appalling. But it is also a situation where Indiana in the past could have cratered from that, but they didn't. They kept battling. They kept coming along. After the Mendoza pick 6 to tie the game, when Indiana seemed to have the ball, seemed to have the game in control, going the right direction, throws a pick 6. Did Indiana fall apart? Hell no, they didn't. They just marched right back down the field. Indiana's defensive line, that earlier in the season, people were a little bit concerned. Think back to the Old Dominion game and the fact that Indiana didn't generate much of a pass rush in that game. In this one, they were a problem. Oregon head coach Dan Lanning said that they changed everything in their game plan because of the fact that happened. Indiana with 6 sacks on the day. And all of it led to a game that, at the end of it, Oregon was absolutely on their heels. Absolutely on their heels. Shocked. An 18-game home winning streak. Gone. The college football world, meanwhile, can't question Indiana anymore. They're trying to, and they're going to try to. And moving the goalposts is something that people love to do. Oh, you know what? Oregon, they beat Penn State, but look, Penn State's lost 3 games in a row. They're in a free fall. So if Indiana beat them, how good could they possibly be? And you know what? Keep it up. Keep questioning it. Keep questioning it because, again, emotionally, I understand the fact that Indiana maybe was just as a longtime watcher of the program, to see it develop, we've seen them have those opportunities and drop the ball. And at some point, we have what in my house what we call the Scully rule. The Scully rule comes from the X-Files. For years on that show, Fox Mulder would say the craziest things as his theory, and then the theory would come true. While his partner, Dana Scully, was there talking about how it's not possible, it's not possible. After a while, when Fox Mulder would go ahead and say something crazy, Scully probably should just listen to him at that point. That's the Scully rule. And at this point, we're hard in the Scully rule right now. And the college football world better get on board with it. 812-393-2600 is the number. Please give me a call. We got so much to talk about, whether it's the Oregon game, the upcoming Michigan State game. Drop a question in the chat. Really looking forward to hearing from you there. And just talking about where this team could go, because, you know, I keep getting a call, and I hope that he does it for this one. He calls after the games and says, I'm going to keep asking you, what is this team's ceiling? What is this team's ceiling? And I really don't look at things like that, because what is their ceiling? Well, their ceiling is to be able to win the next game, because that's what you have. However, at this point, there is a pretty clear path, and not a if everything goes exactly right situation, a very clear path to Indiana going undefeated on the season. In the regular season, 12-0. They're already getting votes to be the number one team in the country, and damn it, you could absolutely make that argument. You could absolutely make that argument. You know, they go into Oregon, they put up a 10-point win. They didn't squeak this thing off on a walk-off field goal because a bunch of stuff happened. You know, I was talking before the game about the last time Indiana had played at Oregon, and I remember watching that game. And it was raining in that game, and I believe there was something like a combined 7 fumbles between the two teams. And it was a situation where Indiana would fumble, and then they would come back, and Oregon would fumble the ball right back, and Indiana ended up winning the ball game. That was in 2004. That was Jerry DiNardo's last year. And I remember that, and it was a game that they won, but it was a sloppy, sloppy game. It was a dog eating a plate of spaghetti game. This one wasn't that. It wasn't the cleanest thing in the world. Maybe Indiana's offense wasn't explosive, but damn it, they put up 30 points. Put up 30 points. Fernando Mendoza, 20 of 31 for 215 yards and a touchdown, threw a pick 6. That was a bad look, certainly, on his part. Bad choice, but he bounced right back. So you have a guy who's facing a tough environment, a ton of pressure, throws a pick 6, bounces right back, leads his team down the field, completing 2 out of every 3 passes he throws. 215 yards. Dante Moore, meanwhile, for Oregon, 21 of 34, 186, tutty and 2 picks. Isaiah Jones was awfully good, to say the least. So you had the running game that was solid. As a team, 37 carries, 111 yards. Not fantastic, but kept the sticks moving. And then you have Elijah Surratt. 8 catches, 120 yards, and a touchdown. He was a man among boys, showed why he's going to be playing on Sundays. He steps up in big moments. But so does Omar Cooper. 7 catches for 58 yards. He didn't get a lot of that, a lot of yardage after the catch, but boy, he made things happen. He made things happen and kept the sticks moving. A long of 11, had 7 catches. It was a fantastic performance by this Indiana offense, save, of course, again, for the penalties, which, as the game was going on, I was just getting really, really frustrated with the kind of things that the officiating was not doing a good job. You know, when you have a black sleeve and a black glove over a white jersey, you should be able to see that he has his arm wrapped around him. He should. Officials can't see that. Then you have the false starts that they call over and over and over again that were clearly a situation where Indiana was drawn off. Joel on the chat says the missed field goal, and then IU goes down and kicks the 58-yarder, which silenced the crowd and changed the momentum. And we need to talk, when it comes to officials, let's talk about that right before that happened. Right before that happened, you had a timeout by Oregon, and the official comes running in to stop the play and damn near got kicked in the face. Now, blow the whistle, but what are you doing jumping in front of the kicker like that? Let's say the kicker kicks and hits the official and gets hurt. What are you doing? There's a lot of weirdness going on right there. 7:10, we got a call. I'm assuming it's, I believe it's probably Matt Weaver from Peegs.com joining us. Caller, if I could have your name, where you're from, and what you got, and explain to me why you're Matt Weaver.
Yes. It's Matt. How's it going, Ken?
You doing all right tonight?
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm doing really great. Now let's start with you. First off, the win. How surprised were you? Not that they won, maybe, but just the way that they were able to absolutely compete on both sides of the ball without having to resort to any kind of tricks, any kind of gadget plays. They just basically took it to a team that is considered one of the best in the country. How much were you mentally prepared for that? I mean, I was talking earlier about I've seen it, I've been watching it, but wrapping my head around this week to week is difficult, and I have to just start believing at this point.
Yeah, I mean, me and Jared talked about this last week on our podcast. We thought this kind of might be, what you might call a kitchen sink game, where maybe you kind of throw, some stuff at them, things you haven't done, some trick plays, whatever it may be. You fake a punt or something like that. And they didn't have to do any of that. They just played their game. They played them straight up and obviously played really well. I think Coach Zanetti said after the game, or maybe it was on the broadcast when he got interviewed, kind of broke their will, which they had, 65 yards, I think, of total offense in the second half. And, some of that came, maybe like a fourth of that came on that last drive when Indiana was dropping guys like 40 yards down the field.
Right.
And they gave up some garbage yards. So, yeah, I said it, today after the press conference, we did a little thing on the field, me and Rabbi and Jared, and, maybe it's getting talked about more than I realized, but, Indiana's defense is just fantastic. I mean, this is a really, really good unit. And I mean, obviously you got some guys that are back, but there's some new guys that are really, to me, Isaiah Jones has been phenomenal. I mean, he played last year, but was more kind of a role complimentary player. And now he's one of the top guys, and he's been awesome. The D-line was fit. I mean, 6 sacks against a guy who had been sacked one time all year.
Right.
I think it was fewest in the country or something. So credit to Brian Haynes, the whole staff. And then offensively, actually it's actually on CBS Sports Network right now. They're replaying the game. I'm kind of watching it. And I picked up right before the pick 6 for Oregon, and Indiana bounces back and goes right down the field. And it just, like me and you've been doing this for a long time, Kay. Indiana teams don't do that.
Right.
They don't bounce back from those things. I mean, Zanetti calls it a rubber ball. He instead of being a chandelier, well, in the past, Indiana was a chandelier.
Yes.
And it would break as soon as something happened. But that's not the case anymore. And it's just, like you said, it's it's kind of hard to comprehend. It's just hard to take in. I mean, in a good way, but it's so surreal because we've seen, like what we'd always joke in the press box when something bad would happen. Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Right.
It's nice to see you again. You know what I mean? Because that's what we saw. Mm-hmm. It's almost like we were expecting bad things to happen, and it's kind of weird expecting good things to happen, even when things aren't going as well as they could be.
So you mentioned that defense. And one thing that has really, really impressed me with the defense, you could talk about the defensive line and the kind of penetration they've been getting, but also receivers who make catches. Oregon ended up completing passes to 9 different receivers. You didn't have a ton of yards after catches. Guys are making catches, but they're getting brought to the ground. And the fact that they're not able to go ahead and pick up those extra yards, I think, really has kind of changed the way teams can attack this team, because they are going to have to work hard. Indiana doesn't have a ton of busts.
Yeah, and, people can I do the PFF story every week, after games, and people can take those for what they were, wherever it's worth. I think some of those grades are, more applicable than others, like a tackling grade. I think some of the grades on offense may be tough just because, or even on defense, because you don't know what was called as if you're grading that. But I think tackling grades, and this was one of Indiana's better tackling games so far this season. And I think three of the top four of the top five tacklers were DBs. It was like Lewis Moore and Pons. So it proves your point. Even when they were completing passes, they weren't going anywhere. They were going to the ground. And again, that's something that, we have not seen in Indiana, a defense that's, the ability to kind of play, to rush and do some of those things like finesse, but then to be physical.
Right.
And it's, and it's at all positions. And, let's be honest, a lot of times DBs and corners aren't always looked at as physical type players. But these guys, D'Angelo Pons is not a real big dude. 5'10", probably 170, 175 pounds soaking wet, but he'll come up and lay a lick. We've seen it for the last year and a half with him at Indiana. So, and these other guys, Lewis Moore had a big pick, had some big plays. So, it's just, I told somebody, this is what high level big time football looks like.
Right.
We've never seen it, but we always, I think it's one of those things you just know it when you see it. These coaches are outstanding. Their scheme is outstanding. The way these guys buy in. Signe talked about it a lot today. Just how these guys, they stay focused. They're good players. And they don't get rattled by. He always says that every play has a play of it, or has a life of its own, 6 or 7 seconds, and you go on to the next one. And that's what they do. If it's a good play, bad play, and they play hard. And the physicality of the defense is just, for me, is really enjoyable to watch. They come up and they punch people in the mouth. They did that to Oregon, and they did it to Illinois, and obviously their two biggest wins this year, and they're going to keep doing it the rest of the year.
There have been multiple times over the years that, we've looked at each other and said, who is the star of this team? Who is the star of the defense? Who is the guy that you could count on? And there wasn't really anybody there. Now, on both sides of the ball, you want to talk about D'Angelo Pons, you want to talk about Aiden Fisher, Isaiah Jones, Lou Moore. On the offensive side, Fernando Mendoza, or is it Elijah Surratt? There are a lot of different options that you have there. And to me, that really is the testament to where this team has come, is you have multiple guys that can make things happen, and they do it week over week with some kind of consistency.
Oh, yeah. And, that's why D'Angelo Pons and McCall Kamara and Aiden Fisher are all Americans.
Right.
And why, Surratt right now, this guy is just absolutely destroying offenses. Everybody knows where the ball's going and they can't stop him. And we said it last week, me and Jared in the podcast. This is one of those your stud games or star games. The stud players have to be studs.
Yeah.
The star players have to show up in these kind of games. When you go on the road and you're playing a team that hasn't lost in a row, like 18 games in a row,
right.
Winning streak, the longest in the country. And this is an outstanding Oregon team. They're really, really good. Your star players have to show up, and they did. Were they perfect? No, Mendoza, the pick, although, there could have been, Signe talked about it, EJ Williams could have maybe run a little bit better route, but, still, they weren't perfect. There was, I'm sure there's plays that they missed or whatever, but when they needed them to make plays, third down or down by the goal line or whatever it was, these guys came through, and they made plays. Lewis Moore had that big pick right after Indiana took the lead. That was a huge play because Indiana could run clock. And really, I remember sitting there, I was watching, and I was just thinking, all you need, a touchdown would be great, obviously, but just get points. Get points there, make it a two-possession game, because the time, and obviously you didn't know that Isaiah Jones was going to turn around and get a pick on the next possession and basically, seal it. But
that's a perfect example of in the past. All right, they go ahead and they get it, and then all of a sudden Oregon comes down and scores on like a quick screen or something, a quick shot, and then they got an onside kick and they got the opportunity, and instead Indiana closed the door on this thing.
Yeah, and it wasn't, the Lewis Moore was a good one. It was a tip ball. Isaiah Jones read it, jumped the route, and made the pick.
Yeah.
Just a great play. that right there. That's coaching. That's guys knowing their role, knowing what play could be coming. I'm sure they've seen stuff like this on film. And doing, it's everybody does 111. One out of every guy to do their job. If all 11 do their job, you got a chance to. It doesn't mean you're going to be successful every time, but this team is it's just incredible. If you've ever seen a practice, they're so efficient. You see why it carries over the field. Attention to detail. incredibly efficient practices, no wasted time. They get stuff done and they get off the field, and it's been refreshing for me and you. I think it's been incredibly refreshing to see a program run this way.
I wanted to ask you about Fernando Mendoza. Yeah, he put up the solid passing numbers, but the runs that he had, the plays that he made with his legs really changed this game as well. Just your thoughts on just the way that part of his game exists, even if it's not the main part of his game. How important is that to this offense?
It's huge. And again, like I said, I was watching this, and on the drive where they went down and got the touchdown, there was Indiana had some pre-snap issues on the offensive line with those guys, and I think there may have been some nefarious things from Oregon with their hands or something. But Indiana jumped quite a few times.
Yeah.
And they had a 1st and 15, and he kept the ball and I want to say he got about like 8 or 9 yards.
Yeah.
It was a good run. I mean, it was a quality run. And and Curtis Warwick was fantastic last year, but that element was not there. You did not have that. And it's just, and that's the kind of time, these are the moments when it's so important. You got a 3rd and 3, and you can keep the ball, and obviously they had some problems against Iowa in those kind of situations, but it just makes it so difficult to defend for a defensive coordinator, because if your DN crashes, he keeps that ball, it's going to be an easy first down. And
right.
He's not Lamar Jackson, he's not Jalen Hurts, but he has definitely got more than enough athleticism to hurt you if they run that play and he keeps it and you make a mistake defending it. And he had some big runs in this game for sure that definitely were huge in the outcome.
So now you have a homecoming game this weekend against Michigan State, Indiana, back at Memorial Stadium for the first time in 3 weeks. What are you expecting from this team, and are you concerned at all about a hangover from this game?
Yeah, not really. Michigan State's a wounded animal right now. They're not playing well. They just got blown out at home. I think they had a couple close losses on the road. One of them, I think, at a pretty solid Nebraska team, but they're not playing good. There's already some, this is the stuff that happens now. There's already some chatter about Jonathan Smith, the coach up there, his future, because they're not doing well. So this is a game. This is definitely a game. They've got enough talent to go out there and give Indiana problems. I mean, I think Aiden Childs had some injury issues at quarterback. I'm not sure if he's playing. But they've got some guys who can make plays. But this team is just so businesslike. They take on the personality of their coach and their coaching staff. I would be shocked if this is anything less than a convincing win. I really would. I get it, but I just don't think these older guys like Pat Coogan, Aiden Fisher, Kamara, you can go down the list. I don't think these guys are going to allow that to happen. I really don't. I think they're going to come out, and I think this is going to be a pretty big blowout.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to see, to say the least. We have a question in the chat. He says, I know Coach Sig isn't going anywhere, but I would like some reassurance. And I know my opinion on this verse is that he has this thing going. Why would he want to go somewhere else if he's getting the resources and all that? But your thoughts on the chatter that's never from the program or from Indiana, but more outsiders just thinking, well, obviously he'll want to leave. Just your thoughts on him and that whole idea.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my first thought is and I get it. Indiana fans have been beaten down.
Mm-hmm.
There's paranoia. But what I'd say to IU fans is, man, like there's something good going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm with you. Why would you look? Here's the other thing I see people say, well, it's easier to win a national title at Penn State. Well, if it's so easy to win a national title at Penn State, then how come they're firing their coach because he couldn't do it?
Right.
Like Indiana right now is closer to a national title than Penn State is. Now at the beginning of the year, people that you wouldn't have said that, but they're closer. They're a much better team, and as the season went on, you saw that they're a better team. The portal has completely changed things in college athletics. It used to be you had to load up on 4- and 5-star guys at a high school to be. Now back then it was just a 4-team playoff, but even as it expanded, you had to have all these guys out of high school. Well, Indiana's got 5-star players. They used to get them out of high school. Elijah Surratt was a 5-star recruit. McCall Kamara was a 5-star recruit. Aiden Fisher was a 5-star. I've been going on. D'Angelo Pons. You can go on and on. Roman Hemby, Fernando. You can keep going on and on and on. And then some of the guys that were already here, they've developed them into 4 or 5 star type recruits. So. Right. I don't think you need to go to one of these other places. Rev share has changed things. Now, obviously, NIL is still going to be in the picture, and you got to be competitive there. But I don't know that Penn State is all that much closer to getting you to a national title than an Indiana is. As long as and the administration has shown that they will give him the resources. So I don't think he's going anywhere. I think Kurt Cinetti is going to coach however long he coaches. He's going to finish in Indiana, and I think there's going to be a statue outside the stadium because he's going to do things that obviously, well, he's already done it, but he's going to do more of the things he's already done that have never been done in the history of this program.
Yeah, his age is a factor too because of the fact that he's 64 years old. Does he want to move his family again? Does he want to go ahead and start over when he's showing that he could already do it in a major conference and give his team an opportunity and a program an opportunity to be an elite team in the country? That's where we are right now. Real quick before I let you go, I wanted to ask you one more question about James Franklin. You mentioned Penn State. 3 weeks ago, he was coaching the number 2 team in the country. Today, he's unemployed. How quickly that turns. Were you surprised at all that Penn State decided to go ahead and pull the trigger that fast?
I mean, I thought he was probably going to be done. I thought they'd probably wait till the end of the year. But then again, when you think about it, and I said this the last couple of years, schools are not going to wait until the end of the year because you can't. Now, they changed the portal date. Remember, it was right after the end of the season, and now they've moved it to like January 2nd to like January, I think, 17th or whatever it is, like the first 2 weeks of the new year. But still, you can't wait because you got to get on the ground and get going. Like, you got to start recruiting, and I just don't think you can. It's not as big as it was the last couple of years with the portal date right after Thanksgiving or right December 1st, whenever it started. But I just don't think schools are going to wait anymore. I mean, and if you know it's going to go bad, if you already know what your decision is, I kind of see it. And listen, I mean, everything that they were trying to play for is over. I mean, now they're looking at basically hopefully going 6-6 and going to Detroit. If that's what they want to do. I don't even know if they want to do it, but yeah, I'm not surprised that it happened. I mean, the timing a little bit, but like I said, the way college athletics is now, I don't think athletic directors are going to wait anymore. I don't think you're going to see people wait out and go to do it at the end of the season. I think they're going to do it when they want to do it, and they're going to get the process started. I mean, Pat Kraft now has 6 or 7 weeks to start contacting agents and getting a feel for listen. If you make a decision like this and you're going to drop $50 million to get rid of a guy or whatever it is, I think it's 49 or 50 million, you've already got an idea where you're going.
For sure.
Okay. And obviously all the connections to Matt Rule at Nebraska, people are talking about with them working together at Temple. They're really good buddies. I could see that. I mean, there's some other guys out there. Manny Diaz is a guy he's got a relationship with, and people speak highly of him. And he's been at Penn State as a DC. So it'll be interesting to see where they go. It's obviously a great job. It's a great job, but I don't think it's the gap between that kind of job and the Indiana job or even other jobs like that. I mean, there's other schools in Indiana's peer thing, Illinois. There's a place, if you get the right guy and you have the right structure, you can do big things. I think the gap has shrunk considerably because of how college athletics is now with the portal and with being able to rev share and paying players.
Well, Matt Weaver, Peegs.com, there is literally nobody on the planet better to talk to than you, and you know that I've known you for a long time, and I say that with absolute sincerity. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for your insights, and I'll see you Saturday.
Okay. Thanks, bud. Take care.
Really appreciate it. Thanks. 812-393-2600 is the number. We have another caller. Bring that up. Caller, if I could have your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Hi, I'm Charlie. Charlie the intern. I'm from Ellisville, Indiana, and I wanted to ask you, Ken, how do you think the receivers were breaking from the Oregon defense on the offensive side of the ball?
Well, I thought that they did a great job of creating separation coming out of their routes. They did a good job of that crisp break and getting separation. Now, they didn't get a ton of separation, but they did make the catch and made a real impact in making things happen. Plus, when you have a guy like Omar Cooper that can make some one-hand catches, that makes it a lot easier. It gives you some opportunities to just widen that catch radius. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, and also, how do you think Fernando Mendoza did outside of the pocket? I know he got on the ground a lot of times, and he went and ran and got some good yards, but how do you think he did outside of the pocket?
I thought he did really, really well, and he used his legs well in the run game, and I'm very pleased that he was able to get up every time. I hold my breath a little bit every time he gets out of the pocket, but the fact that that's part of the game is his game is important, and the fact, look, last year Curtis Rourke played a whole bunch of the season with the torn ACL. Keeping Mendoza healthy is really, really important.
Yeah, and one more thing.
Okay.
Before I go, bear down.
Yes, sir. So, all right. I appreciate the call, Charlie. Thank you.
You're welcome.
812-393-2600 is the number. There in the chat, hoping Charlie isn't a Bears fan. You're damn right he is. I'm raising him right. That's how that works. Irish for Life, 1842, says, this game was the best singular game of my life as an Indiana fan and as an Indiana alumni. Trust me, it has been a long time. I have said before that I am mostly dead inside when it comes to these games, that I've been watching for a long time, and I don't get too high. I don't get too low. But this game, as a, even somebody who covers the program, to see them go ahead, turn in the defense, and walk away with the win, my heart rate got up. My heart rate got up because it was really good to see the fans, especially, get rewarded for their patience and for their willingness to stick with this program through some pretty rough years. Now, the past 10 years have been a hell of a lot better than they have been at some times. The past 2 years have been fantastic, but 2019 was great. 2020 was great. You had bowl trips that under Tom Allen. You had one under Kevin Wilson. So it's been a successful decade of IU football. But this right now, and think about this, folks, Indiana's the number 3 team in the country, has a great path to continue this success and just roll into December, into the college football playoffs. And now they have experience in that kind of atmosphere, which was missing last year. This is all for real, and it's pretty impressive. 812-393-2600 is the number. Irish for Life also says, I was worried when Cignetti was livid correctly over that interference call. Can they throw out a coach? And I know Hooperazzi answered that yeah, he can be, but he also wasn't given a penalty. That was a bench warning. He was livid, and the reason they didn't give him that penalty is because they knew they were wrong. And I'm absolutely convinced of that. He was freaking out, and they're like, yep, we should have called that. So you're going to give him a little bit more leeway, maybe, than you otherwise would. And rightfully so. That one is a couple of just egregious no calls. And that's one way you could let a coach know, yep, we missed that. We kicked that call. You're right. And just try to make sure that he doesn't, go too far. There's a limit. But that is something that goes along with it. 812-393-2600 is the number. We will be hearing from Curt Cignetti in just a few minutes. And before we do that, I did want to mention, for those that are watching here on Monday night, there is a sale right now going on at Peegs.com, 60% off an annual subscription at Peegs. Do it right now. It ends at midnight Eastern time. All the exclusive game coverage and preview content that we have, it's a VIP membership, and it's on sale right now. You got Darren DeVries in his first basketball season coming up, so be sure to hit that deal while you can, while it's going on. Now I'm going to do something a little bit different.
Rip off the rear view mirror, so to speak. Total focus on Michigan State. I think the key now is our response coming off of this game, but that's always the key, right? And this team has met every challenge up to this point because they've been hungry and humble, prepared properly, and put it on the field. which requires commitment, discipline, sacrifice, eliminating the noise and clutter, controlling the controllables, and putting themselves in the best position for success. Because when you prepare properly, it breeds confidence and brings out your best. Playing a good football team this week in Michigan State. They had 2 hard-fought losses on the road against USC and Nebraska. They played really hard and had a chance to win both games, and then returned home, and I'm sure they're not real pleased with their performance. But they got a lot of good players, great coaches, really respect Coach Smith. Did a great job at Oregon State. They got good design in all 3 phases of the game. They got guys that stand out, and I'm expecting their best shot. So this game gives you nothing. You got to earn everything. And it's all about our mindset and our preparation. Questions?
Kurt, I guess from a coach's perspective, what does a quarterback learn about himself, and what does a team learn about its quarterback when it sees Fernando respond the way he did? He throws the pick 6. Obviously, the environment changes, the momentum changes. And to answer with his performance on that drive, what does he learn about himself in a moment like that in your experience, and what does his team learn about him?
Well, the quarterback's the key figure. He gets too much credit and too much blame. He overcame adversity. That play wasn't all on him, but at the end of the day, the ball came off his hand. We had pressure in the pocket. He wasn't able to set his feet. The receiver could have flattened the route, and it happened. And we talked about it a lot going into the game. You don't go on the road and win a game like this without being able to overcome adversity and never let doubt or frustration creep in. And that was a prime example of that. And his teammates rallied around him and supported him. And we came back with a 9-play, 75-yard drive. And I think offensively, the best things we did was we responded to their scores with 2 9-play, 75-yard drives, and then had a great 2 minute before the half again, like we did against Iowa, where in 24 seconds we were able to take the ball downfield, kick a 58-yard field goal, and give us momentum going in the locker room. Defensively, we were tremendous most of the time. TFLs, sacks. Second half, gave up 3 points, had 2 interceptions, gave up 41 total yards, not counting the last drive, where we were in prevent defense. And special teams, the 58-yard field goal, which he made twice, and then Radicek's 2 field goals. But the other teams were good. So it was a great team win. It was a physical, hard-fought game. And, Fernando was under duress at times, made some sensational plays where he got the ball out of his hand, and he ran for yards. So, but, it was going to be hard, and we found a way to overcome it. So now it's really important that we understand who we really are and what's got us to this point, always, last year, this year, all the years in the past. In this game, what does it take to be successful? You got to have commitment. You got to make sacrifices. You get out what you put in. You got to have discipline to do what you have to do when you have to do it and do it right. You got to have work ethic, attention to detail. You got to control the controllables. Eliminate the noise and clutter, which you guys do a great job of providing a lot of that. And stay humble and hungry. This is a big-time opponent coming in here. Every team you face in the Big Ten, the margin for error is very slim. And we have to have a great day today, great meeting, great practice, and stacked days, and then put it on the field.
You mentioned the tackles for losses and sacks, and Dan Lanning after the game said, your pressure in front seven kind of disrupted whatever game plan they had. You've talked a lot about Brian Haynes' scheme and how it's designed to do that. But is there anything unique about this talent group, this front seven that's sort of powered your success? A lot of new faces this year. I don't know, anything unique you've seen from this group that's kind of powered the success they've had?
Well, I think it's all about people and plan, and then the things I just talked about, putting the work in. And we got good players up front. We got really good coaches that coach them, Pat Kuntz and Buda Williams. Of course, Brian oversees the defense, does a tremendous job. And, we've definitely made progress up front. There's no doubt about it. But we also understand we're in a production-oriented business, and what we did yesterday doesn't mean squat, because next week's news will be largely determined by what we do today, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then obviously Saturday from 3:30 to 6 o'clock, from play 1 to 150.
Yeah, Coach, wanted to ask about Isaiah Jones. Why is he playing so well, and his development? Is that an example of the kind of development that you want in your program and are seeing in your program?
Yeah, I think everyone is just so proud of Isaiah Jones. He's a great teammate. He's a great leader. He represents everything that we talk about, what it takes to be the best you can be. He was on the team the year before I was hired, but when he showed up, I guess he had a back injury, required surgery, wasn't able to do very much. So he got out there in my first spring, and then fall, played quite a bit the first half of the season in our Joker package. And then Hardy started to play a little bit more. And I think it's just a case of a guy staying healthy. And, these are young guys. Their bodies change. Their work with Derek, the winter, and then the summer builds on the winter, and then you put 2 years together, 2 years in the same scheme. Now you can play faster, react because you recognize. And he is really playing well. I am so happy for him. And he has been a huge playmaker for us.
Yeah, Kirk, can you talk a little bit about the production you're getting from Wyatt and Landino? They've among the defensive linemen who are playing really well.
Yeah, well, Tucker and Landino have really I've seen those guys really come on the last 3 weeks. Wheeler has been very steady. Ratcliffe's in that mix. Outside, Wyatt, since the day he got here, really has been impressive. He got great work ethic. He's really smart. He's very versatile. He's a good football player. And that was a key acquisition. The other guy that we had in the spring, after spring, was Daly. Now, he came from a program that wasn't as good as Wyatt's. And when he came in the summer, he wasn't in quite as good a shape, physical condition, as the other guys. But he's a freak athlete. Remember him from when I was at JMU. He came to our high school camp. Guy ran sub-10, 800 meter. Senior year in high school, 230 pounds. And he is really about the middle camp on. And then, of course, you got Kamara out there. But Landino and Landino, we've always been very high on him. He's had some nagging injuries that have kept him off the field in his early days. Missed his first spring, last spring, my first spring here. And I see him developing into the player we knew he could be. And, he's got an unlimited ceiling moving forward.
Coach, I'm going to ask you about Roman Hemby. He's a guy I always say Maryland, always known as a speed guy, could run. It seems like, he does that here, but also it looks like he not only is willing to run in between the tackles and run with power, but he looks like he enjoys it and takes some satisfaction. What have you seen from him, and how big has his addition been for the running game?
When you take anyone out of the portal that you don't have a history with, you can research the production, you can watch the tape, you can talk to people. but you really don't know them, right? Until they're here a while and see how they respond to different situations and how consistent they are day in, day out. Roman Hemby's a warrior. That guy gives 100% every day, every play. Physical runner, fast, smart, great hands, great out of the backfield. And, he's a guy that wants the ball, that you can give the ball to, and he's been durable.
I want to say, you said this team is humble and it's hungry. Where does that hunger and humility come from on y'all's team?
Well, I mean, you got a certain blueprint and a plan, things you preach, things that you feel are important. And it's my job to communicate those, and the assistants, right, also, and to kind of live that and walk that. And then, the team, right, they need to get the message. But they aren't words, they're actions. And, we've got enough older guys here, and I think having all those JMU guys last year certainly helped with the process. They understood the program, knew what to expect. But this year we added quite a few new guys, veterans, great character, good players, good leaders. You know who they are. I don't need to mention names. But, we got a lot of strong character on this football team, and they're a team. And, the team goals supersede the individual goals. And let's face it, when you enter a season, especially nowadays, because you got a lot of new faces, there's really a lot you still don't know about your team, how they're going to respond. And you learn about your team every week. You really do. And we're going to learn a lot more about our team this week, right? So I'm proud of the way that they went out to Oregon, got the message. A couple of the coaches said you could hear them on the field through their chatter, some of the stuff they, one play at a time, play the next play, whatever it is. But we got good players that prepare and like to play football. And they're smart, and they make good choices and decisions on the field.
Well, that's Curt Cignetti. He's got a couple more minutes, but we'll cut it off there. 812-393-2600 is the number. The lines are open. Wanted to, just mention right there at the end, though, he was talking about how the coaches could hear the players talking about, next play, all that kind of stuff. I got to tell you, that kind of thing is really, really important, because that's just buy-in. It's just buy-in from the guys that show exactly, where they are in terms of how they're approaching everything. They're hearing what the coaches have to say, and they are, bringing it to life. And that is all that is really important. And that's why this kind of thing, it's a culture change that we've seen under Curt Cignetti. One of the things that, by the way, in the game, I'm drawing a blank now on who laid on the field, and he had to come off and miss a play. And I know it was a defensive player. It might have been Elijah Hardy, but he was on the field. Or no. That was Jamari Sharp was the one. And you could hear him on the microphone over the field yelling at him about laying on the field, and he's able to come off. Those little moments, I loved that, by the way. I thought that was fantastic. It wasn't that he was trying to denigrate the kid for being banged up, but he was just trying to preach toughness, that you don't have to lay on the field unless you have to lay on the field. And Lord knows that that's something that I fully believe. That is really, really important to take care of. I like that toughness. I like to see that kind of thing. And, Sig expects a very high level from his players. And if they are, as a team, performing like that, you have to be real happy with what we've seen from them. I also have been impressed with some of the sacrifice that has been made. Now, Aiden Fisher, Lewis Moore, Isaiah Jones, they are guys that are the leading tacklers for this team. When it comes for tackles for loss, Jones leads the team with 10 of them. Kellen Wyatt has 8. Aiden Fisher has that. Todd Lemon on the chat says, I think he was dinged up on that play. He looked a little wobbly when he got up. Yeah, I understand what you're saying there, but if you are a little bit wobbly and then you're able to jog over to the side, I could see why a coach would talk to him about that. And it happened. I mean, I'm sure you hear that plenty. We just happen to hear him on microphone. But back to just, you look at a guy like Mikhail Kamara, who has not maybe, I don't want to say made the impact, because he has made an impact. That's kind of the point here. He has 10 tackles on the year, 1 sack. He has 3 quarterback hurries. Hasn't been a guy that has been dominant, at least through the first half of the season. But he's also drawing a ton of attention from other people, which is opening things up for his teammates. And you have to be happy, for your teammates when they're doing that and you're continuing to win. It's easy to, it's easier to swallow that you're not getting the same thing. You're getting more attention, but it's opening up things for your teammates. And when that happens and you have guys that are playing for each other, it makes a huge difference. Huge. 812-393-2600 is the number. Please give us a call. Lines are open. We're going to stay on for just a little bit longer. You had a question about, let's talk about Oregon and Michigan State, not Penn State's job opening. What has MSU shown that is a concern? And, with that one, you do start at quarterback. Aiden Childs, as I punch a microphone. Aiden Childs, completing 61% of his passes, 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He does sometimes make some less than good decisions with the ball. He runs into some problems with that. Michigan State's run game has been inconsistent. And like I said, like Matt Weaver said, he's been banged up a little bit. So being able to make an impact overall, it starts with him for them. That's basically what it comes down to. It starts with them. They are averaging this season 29.5 points a game. Overall, 23 points in conference. Now, by that comparison, what is Indiana doing? Well, 44.83 points a game, and in conference, 37.6, while opponents are scoring an average of 15 points. In conference, in Big Ten play. This is one of those games where, again, that mindset has to change. For me, first and foremost, that this is a game that Indiana, by all rights, should hammer Michigan State. They're going to have to play their game. They're going to have to do what they've been doing. But the talent is there. And you do have, stars all over the field at multiple different positions. We got another caller. Caller, if I could have your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Hey, Ken. Dan here from Ellettsville.
Hey, Dan.
Nice talking with you.
How you doing?
I'm good. Great win Saturday. I will say this is not a criticism of you because you have your own life to live, but I feel like you're getting a lot less calls because people aren't as lubricated, so to speak, after a long day of watching football.
I completely agree.
But thanks for doing the show. You're doing a great job. I did want to say, this is one of the first times I've ever watched an IU game, especially an away game, like not being in the stadium, where, there wasn't that natural trepidation, nervousness that most IU fans are grown accustomed to seeing, like basically the, oh God, how are we going to screw this up now?
Right.
Like Sunday's game was the first time I've ever watched a game like start to finish and was like, the guys can do this. They've got it. They have the skill, they've got the coaching. They just have to have the will to go out there and beat Oregon, and they did.
Right.
So I was extremely impressed by that.
And they had multiple opportunities to fall apart in ways that we've seen before. You know,
God,
especially after
yes.
that pick six, you're like, oh, but nobody hung their head. And even the defense, you have, we've seen how many times over the years where something will happen, Indiana will give up a big play, and then they will kind of stack on each other. That isn't happening. And the one bust that they had, the one long touchdown pass, was some miscommunication. Amari Farrell didn't have his eyes where they were supposed to be, and let a guy get behind him. But then that didn't snowball. They went back out there. The offense went ahead and got it together. And when the defense came back in, they were locked in. And to me, that is a huge difference from what we've seen from past teams.
Agreed. I completely agree. And, there's definitely, I hate to use the word swagger because everyone uses that kind of word. Although actually it's probably fallen out of use with the younger crowd. So I don't know what the hell's relevant these days. But this team definitely has a sense of confidence that I've never seen in an IU team before, and it's great to see. Like, I don't know about you, but I've always been one of those fans who always just ask themselves, like, well, why not us? Like, why the hell can't we win these close games? Like, why are we the ones to be, snake bitten and, just constantly can't turn that corner? I mean, at the time, my working theory was that Memorial Stadium was built on a Native American burial ground, and so we were cursed. But
somebody was likely murdered there in 1960. So,
no kidding. Ooh, I got time.
Oh,
give me that story.
It's a whole thing. I'm planning on putting out a podcast about Michael Plume and Valentine's Day of 1960.
Oh, I'll listen to that. That sounds awesome. But anyway, I guess I'll leave you with the question.
Well, wait, before you give me the question, I just answer to what you were just talking about. I kind of track it back to last year's Michigan State game. If you remember, Indiana fell behind on the road 10-0, and Sig went to his players and was like, "It's okay, we'll get him." And then they ran off something like 42 or 47 straight points, and Indiana won big.
Yeah.
At that point, you can't question the coach. Like, he's got you. Everything he's sold you has been absolutely come true. So you got to believe him. And that, to me, that has just built along the way.
Yeah, agreed. I was actually at that Michigan State game last year, and that was quite the environment to be in.
Yeah.
But back to my question, and I'll hang up after this. So thanks for all your time. So with coming up with Michigan State, I know they're big playmakers, generally are considered Childs, but I know he's been kind of hurt or dealing with some injuries. The other one I've heard about, or at least he was big in last year's game, was that last name was Marsh, I believe, Nick Marsh, I think. Do we have a good feeling about how we're going to line up with him? Because I know he was the one that was probably gashing us the worst for that first quarter until, obviously the team rattled off 47 unanswered, like you said.
Right.
I don't think if I was any other, if it was any other coach in charge of this team, instead of cursing me, I would be worried about the, rat poison narrative. But as of right now, IU's got the destiny in their hands, so you got to win every day, every Saturday, if you want to really fulfill that destiny. So thanks, Ken, for your time. I'm going to hang up. Go Hoosiers, and keep up the great work, man.
I appreciate that so much. Thank you so much, Dan. Nick Marsh is who he's talking about. He is the second leading receiver in terms of yards for Michigan State this year. He has 340 yards receiving. Amari Kelly with 347, although Marsh has 5 more catches and has 4 touchdown catches on the year against the one for Kelly. To me, Indiana's going to play their defense. Maybe you throw Pons on him because he is the fantastic cover guy, but to me, Pons is somebody that is going to lock guys down. That's who you're going to put on him. So to me, this is a team that is more locked in and focused defensively this year than last year. And so, when Pons was out against Iowa, you saw a little bit softer zone to keep things in front of them. With Pons back, Indiana could be more aggressive, and I'm expecting them to be real aggressive in coverage along the way. 812-393-2600 is the number. I really appreciate everybody joining us today. Russell Baxter on the chat says Marcus Freeman should be the next coach for Penn State if they're smart people. I don't know if they're smart people. Freeman's buyout around $4 million. I got to, that's certainly fun to talk about. But the point that Matt Weaver was making earlier, I think, is really important too. That Penn State is not Indiana right now. Not only do they not have a coach, they have a huge fan support. Plenty of resources. They got the tradition, all of that kind of stuff. But Indiana's rolling, kids. Absolutely rolling. Was it 12-2 last year? 6-0 this year? Curt Cignetti's 17-2 in the regular season for IU. He has not lost a home game. And for Brad Nix asking on the chat, no injuries that we know of after Oregon. Not that have been mentioned. No. Nothing new that I've seen. But hopefully that was that is the case. Indiana hasn't been super forthcoming with injuries when guys are banged up, but nothing. I didn't see anything the other day that really was seemed to be too much. That would be lingering too much. Wanted to talk a little bit about Indiana's run game as the season has continued. Now, Kobe Martin didn't get any carries against Oregon. It was everything was Roman Hemby, Kalen Black, Fernando Mendoza, and then they had a real bad jet sweep that everybody saw coming. But Hemby has impressed me with his ability to finish runs. He was known as kind of a speed guy. He's finished runs. Black is a guy that could hammer the ball in. Kobe Martin obviously has the 4 rushing touchdowns. But the fact that you do have 3 guys there, I think we'll probably see Martin here at home a little bit and get some carries along the way. I think that is, likely going to be the case. Hooperazzi says, can the MSU offensive line block? Well, block Indiana is what he's getting at. And boy, IU's D-line has been very, very disruptive. Game over game over game. Oregon was supposed to have the edge on the offensive line. Indiana got 6 sacks. Iowa was supposed to handle Indiana's offensive line. They didn't. Rather, defensive line, they didn't. This is a team that is really firing on all cylinders. And then you look at this schedule. You have your homecoming game against Michigan State this week. You have a suddenly resurgent UCLA team, but that still is how much of that is UCLA and how much of that has been the team that they played. You have the trip to Maryland coming up, then Penn State, who knows where they'll be. You have Wisconsin at home, and then you got the bucket game in West Lafayette. All of those games, we ain't circling 6. Hell, we are an hour and 3 minutes into this thing, and we're talking about them getting first place votes in the national rankings, ranking number 3 in the country. We used to just hope they'd get bowl eligible by the bucket game. And now for the second straight season, they've run off 6 straight and are the talk of the college football world. That's the job Curt Cignetti has done. I saw in the chat earlier somebody talking about losing coordinators. Hooperazzi said we'll lose coordinators. Irish for Life says I'd be more concerned about our defensive coordinator than Sig. At some point, guys are going to branch out at some point, but you can't worry about that right now with the coordinators. Especially, Sig's had those guys with him for a long time, and I'm not saying that they're just going to be loyal to him until the day that he quits, because you got to build your resume. But for right now, they're doing one hell of a job with this ball club, and I'm you couldn't be more pleased with the job that they have done. Indiana has everything lined up on its schedule to win. To the point that we are now at the point that if Indiana loses to Michigan State on Saturday, I'll be shocked. I'll be shocked. Hooperazzi says, I love the fact IU doesn't blitz much. They just disguise who is coming. That's no small thing, and that's all coaching, disguising it. Disguising, because you have to teach it, but then you have to have the players that are disciplined enough not to make the move and not tip off what they're going to do. And that makes a huge difference. It's also, our last caller was talking about the confidence of the team. There is a difference, and I've said this before, there's a difference of hoping to win on Saturday and expecting to win on Saturday. Indiana, for a long time, had a tough time expecting to win. They don't got a tough time now. They expect to win. That's why that game at Michigan State last year was so incredibly important and why they've continued to build on that. And now this year, there isn't a man in that locker room that thought Indiana was going to lose that game when they played on Saturday. Nobody in that Indiana locker room. And that culture change is absolutely massive. Irish for Life says, my dog, still a lot of puppy left, came through, stopped the program, unplugged everything, got me off kilter. Well, dogs will do that. I have a chocolate lab named Minnie. She is a rollicking pain in the ass 24/7. So I feel your pain on that. Going to be excited to be back at Memorial Stadium next weekend. Haven't been there. Indiana hasn't played a home game now in nearly a month. The game will be October 18th. They last played at home September 20th when they just beat the hell out of Illinois. A lot of football's happened in those in the time since then. But really excited to be out there. You got a 3:30 kickoff once again. After the game, I'll be doing the show live from the Memorial Stadium parking lot. Unless it starts raining real heavy, then that's something different. But hopefully the weather will be what it's, a decent thing. It's showing that there's some PM showers, thunderstorms arriving overnight. So we'll see if I'm able to do it live. I got my little tent, my table, my electronics, that kind of stuff. Got to protect that. But looking forward to doing it immediately after the game, or about roughly 25, 30 minutes after the end of the game. And hopefully we'll be talking about a big Indiana win over Michigan State. There are a lot of people that are hoping and waiting for Indiana to falter so they could say, see, we told you so. And if you don't think Curt Cignetti isn't using that as motivation, you're wrong. He's great at pushing buttons. And just being able to do that, I think, is a big strength of his. And he's going to do that. Are all the home games sold out now at Indiana for the rest of the season? Not that I've heard an announcement about, and usually they will go ahead and throw out an announcement there. So not that I've heard of, but we will see. You got 2 straight home games: Michigan State and UCLA. UCLA's on my wedding anniversary. I'll be spending that at Memorial Stadium. And then November 1st game at Maryland. That one's going to be a fun show. I'll tell you right now, there's going to be a little surprise with that show on the road, with the game on the road. I'm also going on the road, but trust me when I say that we're not going to have the problems that we had over yesterday that pushed this thing to Monday night. Bradnick says, I'll be at UCLA game. How about the Bruins with 2 straight wins? Yeah, I mean, you could get a little burst after you have a coaching change, especially so early in the season. By that same token, keeping that up is going to be a challenge. And so, they beat Michigan State, held them to 13 points. But that's not something that is going to continued. Todd says, just signed back up to Peegs. Is there an uptick in recruiting? That takes a little bit of time to really see the fruits of. But at this point, as the second that you had Penn State get rid of their head coach. Guys decommit, and all of a sudden they're attached to Indiana's name. So that's where you're going to start to see this uptake. Plus, guys want to come and play for SIG. When you see the success that he's having and he's been able to repeat it, that's really important. I mean, hell, IU is ranked number 1 in CBS Sports college football power rankings, and they're deserving of it. Absolutely. Russell says, if IU football plays for the Big Ten championship, will it be the same day IU basketball plays Louisville and Indy? Oh, hell, I haven't even looked that far ahead. Let's see. I got it for you here. Let's see. They play Louisville December 6th. My birthday. And yeah, that would be the same day. Yeah, it sure would. That'd be a hell of a day in Indianapolis, wouldn't it? Yeah, same defense that they ran since JMU. Yes, that is absolutely the case. And playing it at a high level right now. All right, B-Ball 6023 says the ticket office directs you to SeatGeek Online for IU tickets. So there's the answer there. I haven't heard an announcement if Indiana made it, but I would not be surprised by that at all, given what Indiana has done this year and the fact that there are now just, I think, 2 home games left. So, no, they had 7. So you got Michigan State, you got UCLA, and you got Wisconsin. So you got those 3. Do people call UCLA UCLA anymore? That's something that people used to do. Well, last call for phone calls. I'm going to wrap it up if you don't get it here in just a couple of minutes. But I really appreciate everybody joining us on a Monday night to talk IU football. Just such a big win. I apologize for this running on Monday. Dan was absolutely right. It would have been more raucous had I done it Saturday, but you make plans in advance, and sometimes priorities are there. And so that's where we're at, but we'll have a nice big show after the game on Saturday, win or lose. And again, it'd be really shocking if they do it. It's Irish for Life again says they all expect Indiana to fall. The disrespect button is huge. Trust in SIG. It is. It's a case. Although you do see some people starting to change their tone a little bit. Like, oh, okay, maybe this is for real, because you can only be wrong for so long and say yeah, but. After a while, much like the Scully rule I talked about earlier, you have to believe at some point. And Indiana is making believers out of people game by game by game. That doesn't mean that those people aren't going to be there just dying to jump on them if they should falter at any point. But Indiana has just done a fantastic job of not just beating teams, but beating them convincingly. Even that Iowa game, Indiana wins. The final score is by 5, but it was a touchdown game. This one, 2-score game. So you have to keep moving. Russell's exactly right. Most believe Indiana's a legit contender. And when you beat 2 top 10 teams, what else can they say? That's exactly it. At some point, you just have to go, you know what? They are for real. And that's where we are. It's exciting, isn't it? Boy, it's been a long time coming for this program. And last year I said over and over again, we were playing with house money because nobody ever expected it. This year, they've continued it. Enjoy the ride while it is going on. Because especially as IU fans, we know nothing is promised to anybody. And so each passing week has been an absolute joy. And love talking to you guys after the games, talking about the games, and looking forward to Saturday, being outside the tennis center at Memorial Stadium after the game. Hopefully some of you will stop by and join me live on the mic, because it's been a hell of a run so far, and hope the Hoosiers can keep it going on homecoming. Well, that's all the time we have on the Peegs Postgame Live. I want to thank you for listening, and I want to remind you to visit Peegs.com for the very best in IU football and basketball coverage you're going to find anywhere. Nobody covers Hoosier recruiting better than Jeff Rabjohns, Matt Weaver, Trevor Andershock, and Jared Kelly. So come be a part of a thriving and exciting community at Peegs.com. Folks, you are not going to be disappointed. Also, by midnight, 60% off a subscription to Peegs. Get it. Because not only do you have the second half of the football season, you have the basketball season and coming up, and it's an exciting time for Indiana sports. It's all the time we have. Thank you so much. And for Jeff, Matt, Trevor, and Jared, I'm Ken Bykoff saying thanks for listening, everybody. Go Bears.